Here we go again for another episode of Faith in Home Buying, equipping people of faith for the home buying process. It's been a whirlwind of a month, but it's been good. It's been good in many different ways, and I have a story to share with you. Uh, it's one of faith, and it's one of faith being put into action. And it's been a little bit since I've shared. There's so many stories to share, but I think this one's a pretty poignant one because it happened. We just recently closed this week, but specifically, it's in regards to my lead pastors of Vive Church in Palo Alto, and we have other campuses and such around the country and even around the States, but specifically Adam and Kara Smallcomb. And, I want to share their story, not only because, they're my lead pastors and I think they're amazing, but just because I helped in the home ownership journey that they had. So with the home ownership from the time that they had their first home all the way to now, it's just an amazing story. But before we get into the story, I just want to set kind of this verse into play because it has a lot to do with just our experience. And so that's Hebrews 11. 11s are my thing, and there are like a bunch of 11s in here. So I mean, look, don't judge me, but I do look at 11s, and I do feel like a lot of times they're a nod from God, like, hey, I'm here, I'm with you. That's just me, just don't trip. But yeah, Hebrews 11, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I know it's a simple verse, but there's so much packed into it. And just the Cliff Note version of thinking about faith being just a substance. Like it's tangible, I think a lot of people just kind of have like the thought, it's thoughts, but really it's a tangible substance. When something's a substance, it can be felt, it can be touched, it's tangible, it can be worked, it can be pulled, it's something that's tangible. And probably my last 4 years in working with my pastors, things have been so tangible on their faith walk. And I'll put it just, really, really, how bluntly can I put it? Like, I've seen people, just born over here in the United States that have never even attempted home ownership. Nevertheless, didn't even think that it was possible, right? I run into that quite a bit. But here you have two Aussie missionaries that come here. And, by the unction of God, actually by faith, Lord told him to plant a church over here in the Silicon Valley, which is just crazy in and of itself. They come to plant a church and, leave there, only pack their bags, their girls, and leave their home in Australia to come over to the States and actually start planting a church. And most people, of course, looked at them like they were crazy, especially in the Silicon Valley. No way, like, they don't need Jesus in Silicon Valley, right? But to take it from there, and now I believe it's been like 9 years, if I'm not mistaken, have grown it to over 10 campuses all around the world: Chicago, Hawaii, Austin, Texas, Morgan Hill, and our base is over in Palo Alto, San Jose, even though we're in Italy, Rome, all over, and have grown it in the last 9 or so years. I've been with them, for pretty much the 8.5 to 9 years that they've been out here and building the church. And I'm telling you, 2 years ago, they were able to purchase their first home, as missionaries coming as pastors full time. They were able to purchase their first home. I helped them with that. That was an amazing experience. From looking from land and looking at homes, we got beat out on certain things, and it was getting really kind of crazy on like, okay, so is this something that's needed? Is something that's possible? And lo and behold, God had a home that was waiting for them from people that were in the church that were moving to a different state. And so God bless them. And it was amazing, home, and, they were able to love it and, put their touch on it. They did a lot of upgrades on the home. I mean, the home was beautiful. And fast forward, okay, so to fast forward to recently, and hasn't been that long, probably a little bit before Christmas. They give me a call and they say, "Hey, we found the dream house," and I'm like, "Dream house, dream estate." And so I see it, and so I reach out to the agent, and the home, it was in contract, and eventually they were going to close, and so they had removed their contingencies. It was pending. It was a done deal. So that particular home, we couldn't get, but I was like, okay, there has to be a reason why, right? There's got to be another one. And so speaking to the agent, and shout out to Jackie McAbee over there in Hollister, but she mentioned another home, wasn't even on the market yet. It was an off-market deal, and she mentioned that, hey, it was like or at or close to this particular home that we were interested in. And so, still staying on her kind of, email, "Hey, this is I'm still here. Can you find out more information about it?" And luckily she did. And so I had, I had my pastors write a letter, really a great letter, and just explaining why they want this estate and why it's something that's important for them, why, everything that they've been doing, what they've been dreaming about as having an oasis. And guess what? They read that letter. We went and viewed the property, the grounds, had a great time. It was a great connection. And eventually we went into contract. Now, mind you, please, this is during Christmas time. I thought that I was going to take some time off. Yeah, that didn't work. But we had to sell their home, that we originally had. We had to sell their home in San Jose and purchase the home, the estate, and only had less than about 17, actually a little less than that, because we had Christmas and had all the holidays. So I really had about 12 days to put the home up for sale, get it marketed, get it sold, and get a substantial buyer in it. And won't God do it? And I kid you not, in about 7 days, actually a little bit less than that, we ended up getting 9 offers. And, we had to sell it for a particular price or it just wouldn't work. And said, "God, okay, if this is you're going to be able to sell at this particular price, have the right buyer come in." And wouldn't you believe that that's exactly what happened? And being able to sell the home for this home, it was record sale inside that area. And it's like the hand of God kind of pushed it kind of up, where it needed to be. And it was amazing to see that from the purchase of that, or for the sale of that home, and we ended up being able to purchase on the other side exactly what needed to happen. Not a penny less or not a penny more. We were able to purchase on the other side from the sale of this home. And I say this to say, it's just amazing to me to think that, again, most won't even take the chance to find out what their purchasing power is. And what does that mean? Going in, talking to a mortgage consultant about what you can afford, or, fixing your credit, or doing anything that would set you up for success. Because faith is an action, is a substance, so it's something that you got to work. And, the beauty about it is the more that you work it, and the more that you, take risk on things, and the more that you say, you know what, I'm going to step out on faith, God can then move, versus you just kind of sitting there and saying, okay, I'm going to wait for it to fall on my lap. And so whoever's listening to this, I hope that this is a great just story, or just will get you activated to know that it's possible. It really is. I also say too, for Faith in Home Buying, we had a recent Faith in Home Buying course through Vive Church, and my goodness, it was over 90 people, about 92 people that had came and signed up for that course, and already about 10 people out of that 92 are getting themselves in motion, whether it be selling a home, or getting ready to prepare to sell a home and to purchase another one, to move up, or getting to the market and then trying to purchase, as a first-time home buyer, getting their credit together, whatever it may be. The onus of these faith and home buying courses is just really, again, it's those three things, and it's been that three things since 2018. It's to activate your faith. It's to empower you, and then it's also to educate you as well. And it's just been amazing to see that once that gets into motion, and even those that I talk to and have an initial buyer's consult, the ball just continues to roll. And is it for everyone? No, sometimes timing is everything. Timing is everything, but at least the ball is rolling. Sometimes people come back maybe 2 years, they just weren't ready, or God had to move some things in order, like with their jobs. I've had that happen before many of times where, they got the ball running, foot kind of in the door to go, but God said, no, I gotta do some things in the background real quick so that I can set you up for something better on the other end. And so sometimes it's patience, but the fact that they stepped out and really tried and took an initiative, that's really where I want to encourage you to do. So when we come back on the next segment, I'm going to talk more about the housing, kind of what's going on right now in the market. It's going to be some fun stuff, but just the reality of what's going on in the market and some of the things I have to deal with my clients now in this market. But, it's still a great time. And there's several reasons why, and I'll go through those, why it's still just a great time to even just try, put your hat out there, put your rod out there and say, you know what, I'm going to try to do this. And I've seen some, not only just with my pastors on them getting their dream estate, because, again, other people have followed them. And I'm kid you not, the grace of everything, a person followed them and then ended up getting their home like that. Certain things had come across my desk that were not even, no waiting list for new builds, and it came across. So maybe that can be you, but stand by. Let's talk about the market when we come back. Tamika Ellsworth, Faith in Home Buying, equipping people of faith for the home buying process. This time, let's talk more about the market. The faith part, and again, I'm so open. If someone wanted to call, remember how you can reach me. I do pick up 408-561-7922, or you can find me at TamikaEllsworth.com. Hey, I'm on TikTok, realestate_T, or on Instagram. That's another way to catch me. It's just simply Tamika, at Tamika Ellsworth. But talking about the market, so yes, one of the things that we're going against, and one of the things that even makes my last story even that much more just crazy, is the fact that we're in a pandemic, right? In a pandemic, going through sales, but yet it's been crazy because there's been a lot of people that have made decisions to purchase homes, but then a lot of them that I come across, in thinking that it's the same type of market that it was, for instance, in like 07 and 08, it's not the same. And these are some reasons why. And this is one of the things that I try to educate my clients on understanding why this market is different versus another one. And, at the time, right now, housing supply, it's extremely limited. Like the price of any, market item is determined by supply and demand, right? So if the supply is high and the demand is low, prices normally decrease. That's just the way that it is economically, right? But if supply is low and demand is high, prices, they will naturally increase. So in real estate, we're measured by months, and that's the months of inventory, which is based on the number of current homes for sale compared to the number of buyers on the market. The normal months for supply is about 6 months, and that's kind of been an average. So anything above that defines a buyer's market. So if we have more than 6 months of supply of homes, then it's a buyer's market. But if we have, that means that prices will soften. We won't probably see it increase. It's a stable market. You could wait about 30 days in order to go find a home and kind of come back. Now it's not like that. Now, because it's so far below, it defines more of a seller's market. and meaning that prices will normally appreciate or go up. And so obviously homes not being on the market for as long. And if you've been looking at Zillow or looking at Redfin or any of the other public sites out there, you see that, it's on for about 7 days, maybe max, and it's gone after that. Well, yeah, it's supply and demand. People forget, like between 2006 and 2008, the month supply of inventory, it increased just over 5 months. So to 11 months. And so the month supply was over 7 months in 27 of those 36 months, but yet home values continued to rise. That's an indicator that something's going wrong. Months inventory has been under, recently now, has been under 5 months for the last 3 years, and actually under 4 of 13 of the last 14 months. So under 3 for the last 6 months. And currently now we are at only about a 1.9 month supply of homes, which is historically low. So you got to understand it's a different, 2000, 2020, 2019, 2020, it's just been different on how, and plus, you got COVID too, that's a whole nother issue. But remember, if the supply is so low, like 1.7 months, yes, you're going to have a continual increase. And so bubble bursting, you got to really rethink a bubble bursting. And you have to understand too, that this housing supply and demand, it's real. You have millennials that are actually looking at home ownership as something that's a viable option. Before they really weren't, but now they're looking at it because we're staying at home. That's another thing. But it's optimism on home purchasing, right? Even without considering like market trends, people are caught up in the frenzy of kind of buying a home, but believing that housing values will continue to escalate. So even more people are trying to get in now versus the home prices going up higher. So they're trying to catch it before it gets higher. But obviously, more people coming into the market, the higher the prices get. So it's inevitable that you're going to have home prices continue to increase and the competition get a lot more stiff. So right now, the demand is real and it's not fabricated. This is a real demand of homes and the amount of people that are here. Yes, people are moving out of the state, but you got to understand that there's people still here looking for home ownership and that can pay the home prices in this particular market too, from jobs and even working from home. The good thing about it is the millennial generation, they're the drivers right now of home ownership. And of course, with the health crisis, it's challenging every household to kind of look at what is the meaning of home, right? If I'm at home and, I'm working from home and I'm in a space that doesn't encompass home, well, then I need to start looking elsewhere. And especially if I'm going to be doing this for the next 2 years or so, I want to make sure that it's comfortable. And so the desire to own, coupled with historically low mortgage rates, which is by far the lowest that we've seen, like in my lifetime at that, it makes for a strong, sound financial decision for a millennial or anybody at that to purchase home ownership. And so it's very real. It's not something that is going away anytime soon. And then you got to figure too, a lot of the households before they didn't have equity. Now there's so much equity in homes that people have had that even if the prices did, say for instance, the prices did drop, you still have equity, a bunch of equity in the homes that you could still capitalize on. And my parents, I could see them. I shoot my own stuff. I can see even if prices were to drop 200,000 below, I'd still have equity inside my home in order to survive or refinance, modify, whatever you need to do. Or interest rates are so darn low that if I needed to kind of go somewhere and relax for a little bit, I can have someone rent my house and and I still probably would even get rental income back. So it's you got to figure that the weight in this market, it's not the same. And hopefully, kind of some of the things that I've said today, you would understand that if there's ever a time to try to start, it would be now. And I say that too, because a lot of times you wouldn't be able to afford in this market a lot of things that you could do in another market. For example, interest rates being I think right now it's like 2.85 or 2.65. And if interest rates go up, say for instance, they climb up to maybe about 3.5%, what you would normally be able to afford at a low APR at 2.85 or 2.5, it kind of there, I believe there's a difference of maybe about even $100,000 of what you would be able to afford. See? So that's why a lot of people are saying, no, I'm going to capitalize on this and I'm going to get into an area or a market that I would have never really been able to get into. So that's why you see a lot of, especially homes with 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, and especially in that really, that price point anywhere between, I'd say 800 and 950, like right under $1 million. It's a really competitive market. Even kind of going there for schools. And most people aren't even looking at schools right now. They're saying, look, I just want space. I want space. And, if my child can go to a private school, well, then I'll pay them money for a private school, but I'll lower, the home, that I would want to go into. So maybe it's not a $1.2 million home where I can get a good school. They'll lower it down to maybe a million or, 900 or so thousand, especially over here in the Bay Area is what I'm talking. Believe me, I know other states have completely different prices, but over here, they'll figure, okay, I'll go to a lower home, but I can get more out of that home and more house, more, entertaining space, more living space, and then send my child to maybe a private school, and that will make up the cost, right? So either you're paying for the cost now at 1.2 with a public school that's actually really good, or you're kind of going down and saying, I want more of a house. And I'm, making up that difference of like 50,000 or 75,000 in private school. So I think it helps to put it into perspective. And again, if you need more information or you want to talk about it a little bit more in your situation, let me know. This is also a great time for when you are wanting to move up, so that we have a lot of those too, those that have had a lot of equity inside of their homes and, are playing the real estate in the equity market right, where they're saying, okay, I have a great amount of money to utilize, and I have at least a handful that are doing that too. And they're saying, okay, I have a great amount of homes right now, or equity right now, and a good option. I'm going to take this money and I'm going to move up a home. So if I'm in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, I'm going to move up to that 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And I have a lot of clients that are doing that too. Nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, this is probably the best market to do it, where you can actually get a really high price for your current home. And then the other home that you purchase is not too much on a high, because we haven't hit like a high plateau quite yet, but you still would be able to purchase at a decent price point because the interest rates are so low, right? And so you make that equity work for you. And I've been seeing an average equity of maybe about 150 to, and I've even seen 300,000 in equity. So all that being said, I do think that now is a great time to even just see what's out there. And I really do hope that just at least some stories, which I'm going to be bringing for this month. It's Black History Month too, yes. But just different stories that I'm going to be bringing this month. I think I'm going to do that just to give people a little bit more hope and to understand that, hey, there's still things moving. This market doesn't stop for anyone. But don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. Sometimes it does take a little longer, but understand that, when you know that you're called to a particular area, or if you know that you're called to be a light in a particular community, I can tell you what, the faith that it takes to go there and the grace that it takes to go in that direction, God meets you every time. So thank you, everyone. Again, until we meet again, this is Tamika Ellsworth with Faith in Home Buying, and I'm loving equipping people of faith for the home buying process. Thank you and God bless.